Hello, it's me, and every puzzle has its time. Free for a while to enjoy the light of day. At first, it bears the promise of intrigue and challenge, frolicking amongst its brethren with ever higher orders of complexity. But despite how solid and well-constructed a puzzle is, inevitably there comes a time when all puzzles must go. And so we ask, what does it become when it passes on? What happens when a puzzle dies? Well, now we can finally answer this question. A puzzle becomes
a ghost.
From out of the darkness they appear, and with trembling hands we attempt to navigate the solve of these shadowy versions of what the puzzles once were. We continue up the scale of complexity, with each new layer more bewildering than the last, lending to unending confusion with the solve. Building until the fear collects as a gathering storm. But what is it that truly keeps me awake at night? What is it that haunts my dreams, filling my nights with dread? What is it that I fear the most? For me, it's this monster. This behemoth of parts, this cacophony of cubes, the 7x7 ghost cube. Do I dare scramble it? Do I dare take it out of its cage to haunt me with its off-center shapeshifted terror? How can I resist? So, more than just a shadow and taking center stage, I introduce the scramble and solve of the 7x7 ghost cube. So now center stage we see the 7-layer ghost cube descends upon us. Scary, frightening, seemingly impossible. This is a very smooth moving puzzle, and the thing about it is when I do tutorials or demonstrations, tutorials of puzzles that are a little more easily obtained, and demonstrations of those that aren't quite as easily obtained. What I like to do is I like to kind of go through the solve a few times first, but this puzzle is so big and so ungainly. The fact of the matter is it will probably take me a long time before going through the solve a few times. So rather than do that, I'm going to do something a little different. I've not actually scrambled this puzzle or solved this puzzle before. So this is going to be less of a tutorial and demonstration and more of just sort of like another video log of my progress through this particular puzzle. Now what makes this so scary and so intimidating is the fact that it's not too unlike any other 7-layer solves, really. I mean, if you solve big cubes, the strategy is not going to be too different. The problem is in finding the pieces and keeping your perspective about you. Now, the designer originally had asked if I wanted different color sides. In other words, have like maybe a green side here and a blue side here. Just have different colors to help guide me. But what I said is, don't do that. Just go ahead and do the same ghost outlay, because the fact is I've solved many large puzzles many times over, so the challenge really wouldn't be that great. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for something that's really going to give me a run for my money. That, yeah, it's a 7-layer solve, which I can do, which many of you can do, but let's make it about as challenging as it can. Let's do the entire ghost conundrum and not have any colored sides, or I have to slowly but surely piece all of these together. So what I'm going to do is a little bit of a log of how to put all these things in, and a log of just kind of charting my course through this. So this will be the first scramble in with shaking hands. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to familiarize myself a little bit with the puzzle. I'm not really going to memorize anything, but I'm going to try something of a quasi layer by layer solve here. You can see that it's a very smooth moving puzzle, really well put together, as I'm accustomed to with this particular builder. So just by familiarity, I'm going to be putting reducing the center here, reducing these edges over here, and I can tell these centers are going to be pretty easy to pick up from the others. These centers, the center on the top over here, it's going to be a little bit harder, but I think I'm going to be able to surmise it just based on these sharp angles over here. With the centers on the other layers, you don't quite have that. I mean, I may think that this belongs up here somewhere, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell. But let's see what happens. So I'm not too sure about this, but we'll go ahead and start the process of scrambling. What I'm going to do is take it out of its cubic form by taking the edges and matching them up with the different centers. So I put this over here so that I can click these edges with the center over here, move this center into place so it's lined up with this center, move this so it's lined up with this, take it all the way over here, here, and move this over here. So with that said, I can now make my first orthogonal type turn at right angles to where the other one is. It moves smooth, but you got to make sure that it's lined up so that all the layers don't snag into each other. It's just there's so many movable parts here. I think this comes over to here. And once I do that, it moves quite fine. So, we ready? Set? Here we go. So right now, I'm going to define where my edges are and where my centers are, and I'm going to be matching them all up with each other. Just sort of get a couple of moves down into here, and I'm getting to the point of no return. See this tiny little corner here? Yeah, exactly. So I'll move this over here like so, take it across, and then after a while, it's going to look like any other shape-shifting puzzle. You wouldn't even know where the underlying shape is supposed to be. Okay, so move this here. Now again, it feels like it's a very stable puzzle, but you never know. So I don't want to push it too much. I don't want to get too secure into its stability without knowing how much of it's going to pop. Well, I'm going to go through the process of scrambling because, like I say, you might not see too many opportunities to see a 7-layer ghost puzzle scrambled like this. Now, as a collector, I'll tell you that there's a very artistic element to this. It is a work of art, and that's why I get it. That's why I invest in it. That's why I like to support the builders who decide to do this. Because as far as I'm concerned, if I can keep them doing what they're doing and make it worth their while, then maybe someday this can be produced for all to obtain. All right, so turn it over here. And now I've reached the point of no return. I've reached the point where I can't remember exactly what I did to scramble it. But you can see just how smooth this is. And I gotta tell you, in some ways, even though it might be a knockoff, ShengShou has really allowed for these creations to be made earlier than they otherwise would have been. All right, so I'm moving it over here. Right now you can see a pretty well scrambled puzzle, even though I didn't do too many moves. We're so lost now, we're so unfamiliar with where we're at that I think we can almost consider this scrambled. These two obviously fit together, so let's separate these out. And I'm going to continue to separate these out until you see before you a scrambled, scary ghost cube. The first step is I'm going to do something of a reduction. It's easy to get things lined up now because I know these are centers here, these are centers here. So what I'm going to do actually is I know that there's a top and a bottom center that can be reduced. So I'm going to start off with this piece here. And it's really just a matter of finding which other center pieces are aligned with that. By reducing all the centers that I can, I'm taking pieces out of the fray. I can see this is a centerpiece as well. Does it belong with this? I don't know. Probably not because it's kind of lopsided over here. So this is going to belong to a piece somewhere down over here. And it's really just a matter of trial and error. What I could do though is why don't I take all the pieces that look like this and align them all up together? because I know that they all come together like that. These two are together, which is good. Whoa, try to get away from me. So this is going to come together with this. Now there's always popping potential, and I don't know how much that is with this. Move this into here. You can see these two don't line up quite like that. So we move it out of the way. Now in many ways this is kind of easier to visualize than the axis cube because I can kind of visualize what my sides are a little bit more. 1, 2, turn it like this. And once I have that, let's match these guys together. Bang. Okay, so these two belong together, and that's how it starts. Out of these two coming together, I'll form a nidus around this will form a nidus around which this entire ghost puzzle is going to be solved. So this is how it starts. And now we find the other one to make the line over here. Here, and now if anybody has any suggestions on a more efficient way of doing this, as the different parts of this continue, feel free to let me know. Okay, so now we have 3, and then there was 3. So it starts simple. Let's find another one. How about this? Does this go down here? I think so, probably. It's a little oblong, so maybe it goes up. Okay, so we're going to turn this here. Now you're going to find as I'm doing this, the strategies may start to change, and they may start to change in mid-solve. That's just how it works for me. That I oftentimes change tactics midway, and usually I have the benefit of having done it a few times before recording it. Okay, so this all comes together. This actually belongs with this too, but we don't really need to know about that yet. Now I'm looking for one that's sort of out more. And let's see. The final one, perhaps this one. This one might cap it all off. So I'm going to move this over here. And move this in. And curse splat. There it is. This may be the easiest part of the entire puzzle, but now I have all of these in over here. So now it's just a matter of using this as a nidus to form the rest. There's going to be a learning curve, and as I do it, the easier it's going to get, or the more that I'm going to be able to figure out. But the ones that I'm going to want have to be facing up towards it. This is kind of facing to the side. So I'm just going to find pieces that can do that. Nothing here. Okay, these two. During the scramble, perhaps these two didn't get separated. So these two are fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting things in next to this also. Turn this over here, and it's just a matter of finding pieces to do that. This is the easy part. This is the part just to kind of get me in the mood to continue solving. I see something here. Nope, that's not going to fit. This, I think, fits, though. So I rather suspect that this belongs with it. Now, knowing these two are here, I'm going to pull these away from my base center. And I'm going to start putting pieces in this layer over here. The same way that I would do with any giant puzzle. This one, I think, probably belongs with these guys, just not right next to it. So, line it up. Make sure centers are with centers and edges are with edges. And I'm going to be doing a lot of that early on, so it does take some patience. And once I think I've got it lined up, move it in. Now, this one I think belongs here because I sort of see a nice little plane between them. So I'm going to have to find a piece between them that can bridge this gap. I've got a couple pieces here that might suffice. Okay, let's see what we got. Turn, aha. Okay, let me make sure I'm not destroying this. Okay, so here's what I mean. This comes in, this comes back. Okay, so there it is. You can see these over here. So I have a line over here that fits flush. Now I'm just looking for one more in this direction here. Maybe I'll get lucky. Not so much, but I'm looking for another one, and it's going to be something that's jutting out a little bit more. So something that kind of has some distance to it. Move this over here. It's got to be 2 in. That has a little more distance than I think we're looking for. So move this like so. And now I can start honing it down. How about this? Well, it's facing the wrong way, so I don't think so. I don't think so. Not that one. It might even be in this layer here. It's at the very end, but 2 in. It's not there. How about this? Well, it's facing the wrong direction, so no. But maybe this one. Move this up. And let's give it a try. Move it in, and almost. Not quite big enough though. It's got to be something bigger. It might not even have that same shape. This? No, it's got to be bigger. Something here maybe. How about this guy? That's big. I don't know if it's bigger, but it is big. Turn this over here. And before I move it into this slot over here, let's see again if maybe I can get lucky with something here. How about this? Will this fit? Aha, look at that. It was my last resort, and there it is. Okay, now that I've done that, let's see if this will become the second layer here. Pulled it in, and there it is. Okay. So what we can see is I've got this line, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this 1 by 5 bar, this 1 by 5 bar. So I've got these guys over here. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to see what fits. This piece fits with this, and this piece fits. So now I've got 2. So I'm going to take this out. You can see this coming together over here. Take this out, and now I'm just going to go through the process of finding all the other pieces that fit with this. It should be made a little easier by seeing how far out the pieces have to come, so I know which ones to not even try. And this one is going to be, once again, 2 in. So will this one fit? Probably not, because it's kind of hooking in the wrong direction. So move this over here. Will this one fit? Nope. Will this one fit? I don't think so. So now here, will this one fit? It's a possibility. So let's move it in. And nope, it doesn't. But at the same time, I'm still going to keep it here only because it gives me a rough estimate of the size that it is that I'm looking for. It's not this one, but it's going to be something similar to that, similar sized. Now I'm looking over here. These two fit with these guys, which means that these two probably fit with what I'm trying to do over here. So I'm going to take these two out. Now it might not be that. The thing about ghost puzzles is that nothing should be equivalent to anything else. However, I found that with a higher layer ghost puzzles, there are some equivalencies. Well, equivalencies in that they can fit in there, but they don't belong in terms of the shape of the rest of the puzzle. So I'm getting this and this. These two go with each other. And my suspicion is that these two go up against here. So I'm just going to move that in and see if I'm correct in that. So turn like so, and yes. Okay. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to get one more piece over here. And where might that be? Well, does it happen to be up here, perhaps? If it does, it's going to be in this layer here. Could it be this? Let's see. Move it up and move this down. And the answer is yes. So I have found the other one here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this to here. this got knocked out, so I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to bring this down, and there it is. So now you can see I've got these three together. And this is where things are going to get a little testy, because it's going to be hard to match them up, and a lot of these centers look the same. Now you can see this one matches up here, so this will be the nidus, but I got to be careful, because the question is, does it really? It doesn't look like it completely lines up. So this might work. I think it probably does. So I'm going to assume that this is the proper one. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy out. And having pulled him out, I'm going to start matching things up with this and then seeing if they eventually come back to here in the right position. All the while looking for others that might also fit. So it's this guy over here. It's going to be roughly the size, roughly the shape of this, but not completely. How about this guy? Roughly the right shape, roughly the right size, and yes. So it is coming together over here, and the only goalpost that I have to guide me is things that are roughly the shape and roughly the size of what I'm looking for. Let's see. How about this? Do you think this might belong over here? I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to move this over here, and I see that these do face the right way, and I'm looking for something in this layer over here. Could it be this? Or rather, could it be this? Now let's move it in and see. And no, as you can see, that doesn't fit. Okay, 1, 2, is there something here that might fit? How about these guys here? I think I had my eye on that. So let's move it in, and oh no, I think I actually looked at that before. I may be repeating my steps here. How about this guy? Maybe I gotta move this twice. I'll go like 1, 2. Now, this might have some potential. I'm going to keep this here because there might be a piece that fits in between these two, and this is roughly kind of the right shape. And all these shapes are just so similar to each other that it's not going to help me a huge amount. But bear in mind, I'm still just starting with the puzzle, so the learning curve is still underway. It's still kind of blossoming there. Aha! And just when I thought all hope was lost, I found it. So here I've got these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it turns out that the one that I thought might be the 4th one in is correct. I don't know if you can see that. So now I'm looking for the other one here, and that's going to be something that's the same trapezoidal shape, but really deep in. So I'm not even going to try anything until I see one, and there's this guy. It's trapezoidal shaped, more so, with a very oblong cut, and it's deep in there. So as deep as that is, let's give that a try. We go splat, and yeah, sure, I guess. Okay, well, let's move it in and see if it works. Okay, and we'll go like kerpow, and there it is. Okay, now what's apparent is, although I like all of these, this guy doesn't really seem to work. And here's what's interesting. I like this one, I like this one. These 3 seem to fit with this, but they don't seem to fit so great with the center here. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see how there's something of a drop-off here. So although these go together nicely, I don't know how well they're going in with this center. And when it comes to the ghost puzzle, they do have to fit flush. So I'm gonna have to kind of play around with that a little bit, but I'm going to keep following suit, and we'll continue. So picking it up from here, we're looking at my last layer here. I see this fits, so I'm going to try to find others that fit as well. And I thought I had something else going on here, but we're dealing with last layer stuff. Move this out, put this in, and yeah, that seems to fit. The only way to tell for sure is let's move this back down and put it in to the center area. So to solve this puzzle takes patience, and I'm really not in a hurry for it. The satisfaction will come after the solve is done. But this is how it starts. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to move this like so. so that I can move this in and see if both pieces like where they're at. So far with all the moving around that I've been doing, no pieces have popped yet. I do anticipate some will. I'm just dreaming if I think that will never happen. So let's move this in and see what happens. And do we like it? Yeah, they both seem to fit. So that tells me I'm on the right path, and I'm almost done with my first and easiest of center. So now I'm going to look for others. I notice that they're both set in and they both have this oblong trapezoidal shape to it. And that's where I'm going to be looking. Okay, picking it up with this, I've got these two. I noticed these two over here. Did I get real lucky? Let me go ahead and go 1, 2, and yeah. So all these appear to be in. So I've got 2 more. So let's go ahead and bump this out of the way and get my original center back here. 1, 2. So it would appear that I'm that much closer. I've got these here. I just need to get one more oblong one. This one looks like it comes out a little bit more. It juts out a little bit more. And see if I can find a good contender. This one perhaps? Maybe. We'll move it in. And yeah, okay. So I may have all the components of my first center here. Move it in. And verdict says yes. Okay, so it would appear that I've got my first center of the ghost puzzle. So you can see like a tower rising out of the chaos. You can see that we have some order in here. It's the only order that I've got so far. I'm still a little skeptical of this, to be honest with you. It looks like some of them match, but some of them don't. So that might come back to haunt me. But I'm going to say for now, we appear to have our first center. And now I have a choice. This is something I'm going to have to decide. Do I, number one, solve this edge, solve this first layer here, put all the edges in, and then start attempting a layer by layer approach? The only problem with the layer by layer approach is I have to correlate it with this layer over here. These things, because these are just off center, I'm not going to be able to correlate the centers, these center pieces, with this layer over here, unless I do some turning. But that's gonna be kind of difficult.